Hello and welcome to today's episode of Platinum Talks Wealth. Emmy-nominated journalist Jennifer Rogers Markwell changed gears in her television career when she realized the need to help women make sense of investing. She regularly hosts educational workshops to empower women and others to take charge of their financial future. Now, join your host, Platinum Wealth Management President Jennifer Rogers Markwell, as she leads us into the world of money memories, money infidelities, and how these can mold our relationship with our personal finances as adults. Let's dive into today's episode.
Hi, and thanks for spending some time with us. It's Jennifer Rogers Markwell, and you're joining us on the Platinum Talks Wealth podcast. Today, I'm joined by Ashleigh McFarlin. Ashleigh, thank you for spending some time. I am so honored to be here. It's exciting. Yeah, so I have been after you for a bit to chat with me on this podcast, so thank you again. Yes, I'm glad we can make it work. Yeah, so big question I always ask first is tell me all about you and why you do what you do. Well, so I do what I do because I love helping people in their financial situation. I started, my first career was insurance. I did life, home, auto, commercial. It was fine, but it was a commission-based world. I couldn't really get out and help people the way I wanted to help people. My financial advisor actually said, I went to her just as a female and asking for some business advice. And she was like, well, why don't you come work for me? It was just in the cards, meant to be. And I fell in love with it. I already, from the time I was out of high school and on my own, paying my own bills, had a whiteboard and had, this is the bills due this part of the month. This is the bills due the second part of the month. And it really fit. I didn't love school growing up or even going to college. And when I went back and got my CFP, it was easy and it was a flow. And I knew that this was the right field for me for the rest of my life. When you were little, did you know that this was a path you wanted to be on? No, not at all. No, when I was little, it was, I'm going to do something. My mom, my grandmother were teachers, and I thought, okay, I'll probably go into the teaching profession. When I was in college, my degree is in human development and family studies, so kind of social work or child development. And I realized during an internship that working with children was not a good spot for me at all. And so it really just fell in my lap. I never considered it as something I would do. So I've had the pleasure to kind of talk with you and talk about the importance of being heart-centric in this industry and doing the things for the right reasons. And we were even saying before, I think I would love to see more people doing that, right? That are in it for the right reasons to really help and serve. And that's something that resonates with you too. Oh, absolutely. I think the lack of financial education just in our entire country is atrocious. And so we're in this, we're both running businesses, and, ultimately the goal is that we can run successful businesses, but it's also that we can help provide financial education in the community that we touch. And that's key. I went back, or didn't go back, but I got a accredited financial counseling certification so that I can focus on helping people who just have that mental block for finances. It's not rocket science, but you just have to step back, and it's just helping people have that financial security. They may have the income, but still not be able to pay their bills on a regular basis because they just don't know how to sit down and do it. And it sounds simple for someone who does it naturally, but truly people can't. Yeah, it's a foreign language. I mean, for me, same, right? I feel like I want to keep learning, keep giving, keep supporting, and keep pushing out financial literacy everywhere and scream it from the rooftops, which is why I started the podcast, right? For that exact reason, which has led me to now getting my master's degree in the psychology of money and finance, which super cool too. There's like one program in the nation, and I'm like, yes, I've got to do that too, because how else can I serve? How else can I help people and meet them where they're at? I mean, there's brilliant people out there that have, going back to money memories, have that money memory that's like, wow, that's where I am. Even though I'm wildly successful definably now, I still go back to my family trying to get food on the table in, my Midwestern household. So I feel like that's the psychology that's so important that gets overlooked a lot. It's not just about numbers. Well, that's important. And that's absolutely something that we look at with financial planning, but it's also about the individual and the psychology behind it for sure.
Yeah. The behavioral finance is huge.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that brings us directly into money memories. So you and I have talked about this. So money memory definably could be something that happened to you when you were younger or a teenager that really helped mold your relationship to money as an adult. What's yours?
So mine is still clear as day. I can remember being 9 or 10 years old and standing in line at the bank with my dad to open my savings account. And this is when you could get like a really good rate of return, interest rate on your savings account. And money was so taboo in my house growing up. I mean, it was not discussed. And if it was discussed, it was not a pleasant conversation. There was not, it was not a teachable moment to talk about money. But my dad was aware enough for whatever reason where he did teach me the importance of savings. And it was, okay, when you earn money, and I had money from, house chores, doing my Saturday morning chores around the house. And um, you put money in savings, you tithe, you can be philanthropic without having to give a ton of money, right? How can you give back to society financially and going out and what actions you're taking? That was important, but you have to save, you have to start somewhere. And that stuck with me. And I think I learned on that day, you save a little bit, you give back a little bit, and you pay your bills. And you have to prioritize what you're doing, and you don't spend outside of what you have. If you don't have the money in the bank, you don't do it. You don't just rack up credit card bills.
Yeah, which is still sound advice today.
Oh,
I mean, I
absolutely.
feel like not to date ourselves, but I mean, back in the day of like credit cards at college campuses, and they're like a free T-shirt and a free bag of M&Ms and a free pizza, and you're like, yes, these are all fantastic ideas for me to get 15 credit cards, which is terrible.
At a
Right?
30% interest rate because you're a kid. I mean, it's
Totally.
yeah.
And we didn't know better. And I feel like now yes, education's gotten a little bit better, but it's still not where it needs to be. So I commend you for sharing the same message. Like, don't spend what you don't have. Like, be
Right.
really thoughtful.
Yeah. And it is that basic. And there are things that come up in life where you have to use those credit cards, but then you have to prioritize how can I pay them off and not pay the minimum and go just get organized with your finances.
Yeah. Just being disciplined, I think, is such a huge, huge factor
Oh,
to
yeah.
think about. Like, have you seen the hashtag girl math?
I've heard you talk about it. I actually haven't seen it, but I've heard you mention it on your podcast.
I get so fired up on that. Like, that is you put it on your credit card, you never have to see the payment again. I'm like, oh, you have to pay it off, pay it off. Like, I get if you're disciplined going into it and you're like, oh, I've got airline miles.
You are listening to the Platinum Talks Wealth podcast.
Hey, it's Jennifer. I wanted to take a quick break to remind you that you are worthy to have a seat at the table when it comes to money and your finances. Both me and my team at Platinum Wealth Management, want to meet you where you are, whether you're starting out, starting over, or have been investing for years. Reach out to us at platinumwealth.net or call us at 775-717-0001. We'd be honored to help.
And now, back to the podcast.
I need to charge whatever, fine, then pay it off, right? Otherwise, then don't buy it. Don't do it. Like, be really thoughtful about it. My grandparents were the envelope generation. You had an envelope for Christmas club, right? So you saved all year for your Christmas presents. You had an envelope for groceries. You had an envelope for different things, like really old school philosophy, but it served them so well and they were so disciplined with it.
Yeah. And you don't go into debt that way. And when you use your credit card, you don't have to wait till the bill comes in at the end of the month to pay it. You could use a credit card, get the points, fine, whatever. Go home and pay it that day. It's okay. You're not penalized for doing that.
No, there's no prepayment penalty. Prepayment is good. It's good. Yeah, well, thank you for sharing all that. So another big question we ask is financial infidelities, which for a lot of folks is a big, scary, hairy kind of thought. That could be something that you've experienced or that you've witnessed that you think others could learn from.
Yeah, and this one, I'm really fortunate because my personality is to really watch others and learn from them. And that has to do with, other life experiences and childhood experiences, good and bad. But making sure I see, what someone else goes through and either try and say, yes, I want that, or how can I make sure that doesn't happen? And so I don't have any personally that really stand out. But one of my clients from North Carolina who was in her 70s, we'll call her Jane. Her husband passed away. She was not our client at the time, was not told by her previous financial advisor that, oh, when your husband passes away, you're going to lose his Social Security and you're going to lose his pension. And she honestly didn't know how she was going to make it and started selling baked goods. She lived in a retirement community, started selling baked goods, and she would come in like every 3 to 6 months and say, how much longer can I live? And when I first started working with her on her financial plan, it was, well, you can live 2 more years. But every time she came in, it kept growing because she wasn't having to use the assets that she had saved from her retirement. And she was, she was doing what it took. And it was the lesson of it's never too late, right? I mean, should her financial advisor have told her? Absolutely. I mean, I think shame on them, but she didn't give up. And that's, the never give up philosophy in life. Sometimes life just sucks and sometimes it really knocks you back. But we can stand up again and we are strong and there are ways that we can make it without having to depend on others.
And how innovative for her to create her own baking goods
Yeah.
company. That's fantastic.
Yeah. It was exciting to see her journey and how she succeeded and was doing phenomenal.
Oh, that's a good story.
Yeah.
Scary though, right? When you don't know what you don't know. And I think
Right.
that comes back to, do you have a financial plan? What does it look like? Social Security is such a gray area too. What does that look like for an individual? Pensions are all different. I mean, there's so many different variables. It's not a one shoe fits all at all.
Right. And are you talking to your financial advisor about having the what ifs, right? Are you really looking into the future? What is going to happen to me, if one of the income streams stops? What is going to happen to my life if you're a couple or if you're single, or just really looking at the scenarios? And that's the investment part of our job is fine, right? But it's not rocket science. But the planning piece that is so unique to every person, that's the important part. And I don't care what age you are, if you're 20 or if you're 95, we need that fight. We all need that financial education and the planning piece.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you bring up a great point, because in the world of robo advisors and people wanting to self-direct, it's a thing, and that's fine. And that's
Oh, yeah.
absolutely someone's choice. However, my personal opinion is I feel that you lose the human element there. You lose what happens with my income, what happens emotionally if you panic in a certain situation with the market. I mean, you lose that personal connection and that personal conversation of your individual situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, just like it's healthy for us all to go to a therapist, it is healthy for us all to have a financial advisor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, having that conversation is huge.
And it's fascinating too, because financial advisors also talk to other financial advisors. We continue to have conversations because I feel like we are always learning and growing ourselves too. It doesn't stop once you get all your licenses or you get your degree. I mean, every year we're continuing to learn from each other, from the industry, completely across the board too. So we can be the best that we can be, the best to serve.
Yeah, absolutely. And we should never stop learning. There's always something else. We can never know it all. And talking through things is a huge benefit.
Yeah. This job is definitely not boring, right?
No, it keeps us on our toes.
Completely. One of my team members, she said, it's not a job, it's not a career, it's a lifestyle. And I said, that is a beautiful, because it's
Yes.
just 24 hours a day embedded in, like, loving what we do and loving supporting others.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we get to have conversations with each other, like stuff like this. It's great.
Pretty fantastic. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
super grateful. Super grateful. So as we start to wrap things up, I always like to ask, what are tips and or tricks that you use to utilize money differently in your own household?
So in my household, like I mentioned before, for over 20 years at this point, I sit down and I don't have a big whiteboard sitting when you first walk into my house anymore, but I still
No judgment. No judgment if you do.
But I do still have a sticky note on my computer, and it lists out all of my bills, and it's just making me aware every time I log in, every time I open my laptop. Okay, this is what's coming up that's due, and I have it broken down. This is what I'm paying the 1st of the month. This is the 15th of the month. These are the annual bills, right? So I have a life insurance policy that I pay once a year. I have auto taxes, property taxes. All of those things are just broken out just as that reminder, hey, am I aware of this? Am I saving for this? And it's not a judgment on myself, but it's just making me aware so I make smart financial decisions.
I feel like that is just being transparent with yourself. I mean, people
Oh,
stick
yeah.
their head in the sands with their finances, with everything, but that's just truly knowing and seeing what your situation looks like.
Right. And just because we're financial advisors, it doesn't mean we have it all figured out for money. Like we have to pay attention to ours also. And I think it's key. It's important for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, and for us to do the same things that we're sharing others to be doing.
Yeah. Practice what you preach.
100%, right? 100%. Well, good. Well, thank you so very much for making time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. It was so much fun.
And hopefully those of you listening and or watching will join us on the next Platinum Talks Wealth podcast.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, Platinum Talks Wealth, please subscribe and share. For more information about Jennifer Rogers Markwell or Platinum Wealth Management, please visit www.platinumwealth.net. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member of FINRA and SIPC. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. The guest speakers and their companies are not affiliated with or endorsed by LPL Financial or Platinum Wealth Management.